Hey everyone, this is Ross. Welcome to another Manna. I just wanted to share some thoughts that I've really been meditating on for quite a while, but they really came to a head today. They really came in completed form into my mind and heart. The verse in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 5, it says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not." In other words, he doesn't chastise or condemn or criticize us for coming to him when we're in a situation and we just don't have the wisdom on how to handle the situation. Now, first of all, in context, there in the book of James, I believe contextually, this seeking for wisdom comes in the midst of a tribulation or persecution or some kind of a trial in the person's life, the Christian's life, or the group of believers. Because when you study the first four verses, it's all about handling the trials and tribulations of life. So contextually, we're like, God, we're in this difficult situation, this trying time. Give us wisdom from this. Help us to learn what is our role, how should we respond, what is the purpose. All of these things come into play when a person is in those situations and they want to know God's heart on the matter. Now, that's primary application. Secondary, we can say, well, when we need God's wisdom in a given moment or experience, if it's not exactly a tribulation, a trial, a persecution, but we still need God's wisdom, can we or are we allowed to call out to God and say, God, I need your wisdom? The answer is, of course, absolutely, you can. And I do believe there is that primary application and the secondary application of James chapter 1, verse 5, based upon that truth. Now, here's the third thought, though, and this is where it's been in the think tank for a while, and now I want to express it and share it with you. I think a lot of people are asking for God's wisdom on how to handle situations that they are involved in or that they've gotten themselves into, when clearly what they're doing or the situation and the circumstances now that are prevailing upon them are really an accumulation of them making bad decisions, and basically, to use the term, they've painted themselves into a corner. And now they want God's wisdom, not necessarily God's deliverance, how to get out of the corner, because God's like, well, you painted yourself into that corner. You're going to have to wait for the paint to dry. But wisdom on how to get out of the corner without disturbing the paint. And it's like, no, you've gotten yourself in this situation. The wisdom is, don't get yourself in that situation in the first place. Does that make sense? So basically, what I'm understanding when I think about this in this different paradigm of this truth is, God really would want us to be praying, God, give me the strength and character not to make these decisions or put myself in these bad situations or get involved in these relationships that are, toxic to a degree. And I don't mean toxic as far as you cut them off and never talk to them again. But there's a toxicity within these relationships because of the way I am, because what I've allowed myself to become within this relationship or this circumstance or this job situation. And so I really think further on down that thought is, God has already given us a lot of wisdom about things. He's already given us a lot of understanding and truth as to how to be wise, so we don't get into situations or circumstances or relationships where then we cry out and say, God, I need your wisdom how to handle this, because God's like, you're not supposed to be handling that. You're not supposed to be involved in that. You're not supposed to be working that type of job, or you shouldn't find yourself in that situation or circumstance, because if you had listened to just my basic thoughts of Scripture, you wouldn't have gone that direction in the first place. And now you're in a destination and you're asking for wisdom on how to handle a problem you were never designed to handle in the first place. So it's almost futile to say, well, God, give me wisdom in this because I want to learn and grow. And God's like, your learning and growing should have been listening to the truth that I've already given you and not getting involved in that or headed down that path or participated in that circumstance in the first place. So the wisdom is quit doing stupid stuff and expecting different results, right? And so I'm preaching to myself as much as I am to anybody else on this. So I guess the bigger picture of what I'm saying is we shouldn't have to pray very often for specific words of wisdom from God in circumstances. That should be few and far between, in my honest opinion, in my humble opinion. That should be few and far between of saying, God, I really need your wisdom in this, because he's already given us so much wisdom in his word that if we are students of the scripture as we should be, and we're rightly dividing the word of truth as we need to be, we won't have often to be like, God, I need your wisdom. Why? Because he's already given it to us. We already have it. It's his word. It's right there in black and white in English for those of us that are English speakers. So, yeah. So we don't need wisdom as much as we need character. Sorry, I turned around. Somebody turned around in my driveway, and they're not a good driver. And so I thought, man, they're going to hit my car. So that's my thought for today is, don't pray for wisdom, pray for character. And then when God puts you through a trial to give you strength of character and greater purpose and motive and consistency, you won't find yourself in situations where you're like, oh God, I need your wisdom on how to handle this. Because once again, because we're human, and we make mistakes, we find ourselves in situations, and then we're asking God to bail us out. Even if it's not a deliverance, it's a word of wisdom, and God's like, well, here's your word of wisdom. Quit doing stupid stuff and expecting different results. Quit getting yourself involved in circumstances and situations, relationships, you fill in the blank, and expect me just to willy-nilly deliver you or give you something. Okay, here's your escape. No. Now, does God throw us a rope once in a while? Thank goodness. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endures to all generations. Thank goodness for his mercy and grace, for when we're just so messed up and so we find ourselves in such a dire need that he delivers us. But sometimes God's going to let you wallow in the mud till you get tired of the stink and the filth. That's his word of wisdom. Have a great day.